Hello, my name is Mark and I thank you so much for coming by today. Well, today is the last day of October, which means it's the end to several online drawing challenges like Inktober, Drawloween, Spooktober, and a whole variety of offshoot challenges in the art community. I have to say that the rush of diving into these challenges is only matched by the sheer exhaustion of coming out of them. So, did you participate in a drawing challenge this year? And if so, which one did you do? This year was my 5th Inktober challenge, and despite the excitement and preparation before it started, I'm never really quite prepared for what comes throughout the month, and I forget how much of a commitment it is once I start. As you probably know, even if this was your first challenge, these challenges demand a lot of our attention, our time, and problem-solving skills. They can be a strain on our daily routine, our sleep habits, and even our relationships. There's no paycheck for all the hard work we do, and there's no trophy at the finish line. So what do we get from doing these challenges? Well, what we get is the rare opportunity to sharpen our skills, test our discipline, and develop our personal growth to see what's working for us and what we still need to work on. For some people, creating 31 drawings in 31 days is a cakewalk and not much of a challenge at all. Yet for others, it can be too much and they drop out just as soon as they began. Some folks have all day to work on their drawings, while others, like myself, have a limited time to work on theirs. Some do all the drawings in advance, defeating the point of the challenge, while others procrastinate and do all of their drawings at the very end. There are people who come up with elaborate, clever solutions, while others go for simple, obvious, or basic. And for many who fall behind, they refuse to quit and play catch-up until they get themselves right back on track. So which one were you this year? Did you stay true to the way you thought you were going into the challenge? Are you a purist who only used pen and ink and adheres strictly to the rules? Or are you a modernist who prefers alternatives like creating a multimedia solution or who uses digital artwork to create their solutions? No matter how we do our challenge, it's still 31 drawings in 31 days, and that is not an easy task. For me, well, I'm a creature of habit, so I do the same thing every year. I clean up and organize my workspace, lay out all my tools for the challenge, and buy any supplies that I think I might need. This year, my big purchases were an $8 bottle of ink and some Copic multi-liner brush pens. I never look at the prompt word until that very morning. When I get to work, I think about the word during the day until I get home and can set to work on it at night. This year, however, I plan to do all my drawings before work in the morning, but I just couldn't make it happen, so I had to do them all in the evening, which was okay because my routine was consistent and I like how I approached each drawing. Of course, I did fall back on my old motto that I'll be glad when this is over, but I'll be sad when it's done. Now, at the end of it all, I'm feeling the same thrill of excitement that I did at the beginning of the challenge. Whether still on task, trying to catch up, or even skipping a day or two to be in the moment, it's time to focus and cross the finish line in style. I want my Inktober to end on a strong note and not a whisper. But how did you handle your challenge? Did you start off strong and then taper off as it went along? Did you stumble through the beginning and then find a powerful stride once you got it rolling? Or maybe you stayed consistent through the entire challenge, which can be a challenge in itself. For me, now that the challenge is over, I'm looking forward to freeing up some creative headspace. I've got a few projects on hold which I really need to get to, and I've been missing my watercolors like crazy. I know there will be a temporary itch of the phantom routine that we've been forcing ourselves to develop all month long. The best part about partaking in an online drawing challenge is that there's so many benefits to us artists, whether you're just a beginner or even a seasoned professional. From being inspired by all the amazing work posted online to using new tools or techniques, there's so much going on that it's a treasure trove of learning and picking up new ways of thinking and creating our art. But before closing that sketchbook and putting it away on the shelf, there are still things we can do to reap even more benefits from these challenges. Something I like to do is give myself an honest review of my work. I'll go back to the first drawing and start there and make notes that I can save and revisit later. I used to write them on the adjacent page in my sketchbook, but this year I plan to create a text file on my computer that I can print out and keep in my Inktober sketchbook. What I do is simply write down my thoughts for each drawing, how I approached each prompt word, how I came up with the solution, the process of sketching it out, and what kind of time I put into it. And then I'll write about the strength of my skills for that piece, whether I was happy with it or not, and what decisions I made that could have been different. This year there were a few drawings where I felt my approach was off, so that's why an honest review is good for me. It allows me to have an open, personal dialogue with myself, offering a critique of my own work. The trick is that it has to be honest or else there's no point. Next year, it's important for me to revisit those comments from this year to see where I can improve for the next challenge. The key is to do these reviews right after the challenge is over, while the thoughts are still fresh in our minds and can still be accessed. I see this as a rare opportunity to better understand my own artwork, recognize my strengths, and identify the weaknesses that I need to work on. Now, as you watch this video, the drawing I'm working on here is for the prompt word teeth. I've done a lot of drawings in the past that involve teeth, so I wanted to go in a bit of a different direction. I started thinking of the tooth fairy, losing teeth, baby teeth, shark's teeth, and even the teeth of a comb or a saw blade. I was really excited when I started the drawing, but eventually I became less and less excited as the drawing went on. In my head, it was going to be animated and funny, but what came out felt forced and a little bit stiff. I spent way too much time on it to begin a new drawing, so I just accepted the piece for what it was. But I know that when I write my review, I'm sure I'll have some interesting things to say about it. The cool thing is that when I look back at it later, I'll remember those choices I made and try to avoid them going forward. Another thing I've been doing for the past 2 years is to create a printed book of my Inktober artwork. It can be a little expensive, but I really enjoy having a clean, professional-looking body of work in one place and in book format. There's just something about having a polished-looking collection of work that I can just pull off the bookshelf to show family or friends, or even bring with me when I meet a new client. I've been using Shutterfly to create these books, and I've had really good results. But this year, I'll look at other options to see what's available and for something that may be a little cheaper. Every year, I create a couple of iconic designs that I've been told would work well on t-shirts. I've never really thought of putting my Inktober work on a t-shirt, but it's definitely an idea worth exploring. This year, my friend Steve, known on YouTube as The Mind of Watercolor, saw my solution for the word blade and wrote, "This is great. I'd buy that on a t-shirt in a hot minute." His comment made me really happy, as it was just such a kind thing to say, so I'm sincerely grateful for his support and his feedback, but it also made me realize that there's real potential in what he said. So looking back over the entire month, my guess is that my experiences are probably similar to yours or other people as well. For me, the biggest challenge that I continue to face every year is my time management. I spend way too much time immersed in my drawings than I want to be spending. I usually give myself an hour, but 3 hours later I'm still adding in details. This year, for the prompt word float, I decided to draw it in the morning before I went to work and just do a quick sketch. Unfortunately, I rushed the drawing and I was disappointed with the results. Sure, it satisfied the solution and I did the drawing for the day, but it was so different from all my other work, it actually looked like someone else had drawn it. The problem was that I abandoned my routine, let go of my discipline, and I took a shortcut to save time, and it showed. But unlike other years that I've done the challenges, this year has been tough for everyone. This year, during the middle of Inktober, my family lost a loved one who passed away. She was older and it wasn't unexpected, but it was still emotionally difficult and we had to deal with things that we've never dealt with before, like spending long hours at the hospice care center, planning a funeral, shopping for a casket and a headstone, and making arrangements for family and friends while keeping socially distant and safe. We did all this while still working full-time and trying to keep up with an online drawing challenge. I can say that it was definitely a rough time, but thankfully we got through it. But still, 2020 has been rough on a lot of people. Just before the Inktober challenge began, its founder, Jake Parker, faced allegations of plagiarism, which caused a mass exodus of artists who now boycotted the Inktober challenge. For me, I found that my personal habits had become lazy during the pandemic. I'd mull around the house instead of being creative. I wasted time on social media and playing games on my phone instead of being productive. I miss going to the gym and working out, engaging with my friends socially, and even going out to buy art supplies. And then, of course, there's the politics. So much to distract us from what we should be doing or what we'd want to be doing. But despite everything going on in the world, these drawing challenges offer so many benefits for us artists. They force us to sit down and draw. For me, while I'm being creative at work, Inktober gets me to draw for myself, which I absolutely love. These challenges force us to meditate, even if we didn't know we were doing it. It's that moment when we become so immersed in our work that the rest of the world disappears and we focus solely on our work. It's when our breathing slows down, our muscles relax, and our minds drift into a place beyond basic thinking. For me, that's what I love most about doing artwork altogether. That meditative ability to just shut out the world and sink into my creativity. I also love the idea that during the challenge, our drawing becomes the most constant thing in our lives for the entire month. We form a completely new routine that accommodates our artwork, which is something that we should do already, but most of us don't. And for me, I've caught up on Netflix shows, new music, and podcasts that I've been wanting to check out while I do my drawings. These challenges force us to recognize our strengths and face our weaknesses, which is so valuable to learn from. And of course, seeing all the incredible work on social media from so many skilled artists makes me take pause and realize how big the world is and how I'm just another creative spirit plodding along and mixing my paint throughout the universe. Lastly, I'm thrilled with all the new friends that I've made through social media. People who have inspired me and motivated me to keep on going. I'm so excited to follow their work and see what they come up with long after these challenges are over. As for the big takeaway, it's that we're able to commit to our creativity and challenge it in a way that only helps us improve. For those who didn't finish or fell behind, it's important to recognize that we tried, because we never know anything if we don't try. For those who drifted off a few weeks into the challenge, again, we should celebrate the work that was created and not worry about what we didn't create. Life demands our attention before any drawing challenge, always. And for everyone who completed the challenge, I hope you embrace that sense of pride and peace, knowing that it was a worthwhile investment in our creativity, our fun, and our desire to push our skills beyond where they were before the challenge began. So again, were you able to take on a drawing challenge this year? And if so, which one did you do? Would you do it again next year? Or would you consider maybe doing a different challenge next year? I'd love to hear about your experiences and how you took on the challenge and maybe what you'd do different next time. For me, my solution this year for the word ominous was one that I see as a personal triumph. It was an homage to the artist Edward Gorey and the influence he had on me as a young artist. The piece also represents a sublime moment in the challenge when I had the right amount of time, knew exactly what I wanted to create, and executed the piece exactly how I imagined it. Is there a piece that you created this year that you're especially proud of too? Are there any that you just weren't happy with at all? Because, well, I have a few of those. And are there any memorable moments that make you laugh out loud to yourself? Like for me, when I accidentally spilled a cup of ink right onto one of my drawings just as I was close to finishing it. You can probably imagine I had a few choice words to say when that happened. I'm not the only one who has these kind of mishaps. Did anything like that happen to you this year? Again, I'd enjoy hearing about your process with each piece, like whether you plan everything out, create sketches ahead of time, or do you just go in blind and see what happens? If you did participate this year, I hope you also went out on a strong note and feel fulfilled with the adventure you chose to take on. We are now at that point where we are the marathon runner wrapped in our mylar blanket, walking off the adrenaline of crossing the finish line. Of course, there are still more challenges coming in November, like the popular Drawvember, which I'm still debating on doing myself. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this discussion, and again, I thank you so much for coming by. Please subscribe to help my channel grow, and so I can bring more content like this in the future. For now, please stay healthy, congratulations, have a happy Halloween, and as always, God bless.